indeed it is a time to give thanks to God. It is also a time to ask for His blessings, because His blessings are what we require to take us from one level to the other. And in that spirit, we say Eid Mubarak to our Muslim brothers and sisters and lovers of the religion of faith, the religion of peace, Islam, as we welcome you to Nigeria's longest running breakfast television show, Morning Ride. I am Ololade Adeniji. Today's episode of the program is a fully packed one because, yes, we're still in the mood of celebration. People have slaughtered their rams, and I know that some people will even slaughter up until Monday. Yes, because we are celebrating, the festive season of Eid al-Kabir. We do hope you've had a good time so far in your celebration, but at the same time, we do hope that you have maintained all the medical and social protocols of these times, talking about, the coronavirus, the COVID-19 pandemic that is presently going on. Like I said, there's so much that we have lined up for your pleasure today on the show, but before we go into all of that, let's start, as we usually do, with our first musical break. The musical today is coming from outside of the shores of Nigeria, but of course it is to celebrate the Eid al-Kabir, and it is titled Kun Anta by Hamoud. Let's enjoy it.
لأجاريهم قلدت ظاهر ما فيهم فبدوت شخصا آخر كي أتفاخر وظننت أنا أني بذلك حزت غنى فوجدت أني خاسر فتلك مظاهر لا 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 نحتاج المال كي نزداد جمالا جوهرنا هنا في القلب تلالا لا لا نرضي الناس بما لا نرضاه لنا حالا ذاك جمالنا يسمو يتعالى أتقبلهم الناس لست أقلدهم إلا بما يرضيني كي أرضيني سأكون أنا مثلي تماما هذا أنا فقناعتي تكفيني ذاك يقيني لا 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 نحتاج المال كي نزداد جمالا جوهرنا هنا في القلب تلالا لا لا نرضي الناس بما لا نرضاه لنا حالا ذاك جمالنا يسمو يتعالى جمالا جوهرنا هنا في القلب تلالا لا لا نرضي الناس بما لا نرضاه لنا حالا تعالى كن أنت تزداد جمالا.
Right, that was Kung Anta by Hamoud, and that has set the tone for the show today. It's time for us to take a look at the newspaper headlines that trended in the course of the week. When we return, we will take the paper headlines for today before you get to meet my very first guest on the show. Let's take the newspaper headlines for the week.
It's always nice to have you join us on our review of newspapers during the week gone past on Morning Ride. We'll start with this day's newspaper on Monday, 27th July 2020, with this bold headline below the masthead. Southeast governors set to unveil regional security outfit, with the rider urge Ayim Eze to sheath sword. Details on page 9. Below the masthead, still on the Monday edition of this day's newspaper, is this cover story. Akpabio fires back. Lists senators, House members awarded NDDC contracts with the riders. He is confused, says Nwabochi. Tunji Ojo, allegations spurious. Details on page 9. Still on the front page of the Monday edition of this day's newspaper is this picture story showing the Borno State Governor, Professor Babagana Zulum, and the Kwara State Governor, Alhaji Abdurrahman Abdurrazak, during a condolence visit to Abdurrazak over the passing of his father, Alhaji Abdulganiu Abdurrazak, son in Ilorin. Next is the Guardian newspaper on Tuesday, 28 July 2020, with this lead story. Manufacturers resort to self-help as gas price soar. With the riders, self-generated electricity hits 119 billion naira in 2019. Grid supply inadequate to meet local demand. Details on page 6. Still on the front page of the Tuesday edition of the Guardian newspaper is a picture story showing President Muhammadu Buhari at a virtual extraordinary session of the Authority of ECOWAS Heads of State and Government in the State House, Abuja. Below the picture story on the front page of the Tuesday edition of the Guardian newspaper was this bold headline. Government loses 766 million naira to 4-month suspension of railway services, with riders. COVID-19 stalls completion of Lagos-Ibadan standard gauge. Railway union seeks protection of workers, commuters. Experts support reopening, canvass political will. More details on page 6. Gas explosion. 7 feared dead in Lagos was the screaming headline that graced the front page of the Daily Sun newspaper on Wednesday, 29th July 2020. More details on page 26. Still on the front page of the Wednesday edition of the Daily Sun newspaper was this cover story. FG talks tough on EFCC, NDDC, NSITF probes, with riders says anybody found wanting will face the music. IMC, NAS crisis, disgraceful, Ijaw youth. Details on pages 3 and 6. The Nigerian Tribune newspaper on Thursday, 30th July 2020, had this cover story. Cut workers' salary, prepare for anarchy. Labour wants governors, with the riders says 450 naira per dollar, exchange rate criminal conspiracy against Nigerians. Details on page 6. Other interesting stories still on the Thursday edition of the Tribune newspaper are: Presidency sends EFCC zonal heads back to police. Suspected Boko Haram members attack Borno governor's convoy. World Bank approves $500 million for girls' secondary education in Ekiti, Kano, Kaduna, 4 other states. More details on pages 2 and 6. And lastly, on the review of newspapers this week is the Nation's newspaper on Friday, 31st July 2020, with this lead story. Edo 2020, nothing to show for Obaseki's 4 years, says Udige. PDP, Jitri, as youth endorse Ize Yamu. Decent people backing governors for re-election. Details on page 6. Below the lead story, still on the front page of the Nation's newspaper, was this bold headline. Second Republic Senator Fasami dies at 94. Still on the front page of the Friday edition of the Nation's newspaper was this cover story. Governor accuses military of sabotage to convoy attack with the riders, army to probe incident. Soldiers shoots dead officer. Blast rock Maiduguri. Details on page 25. And that's it on the review of newspapers during the week gone past. Morning Ride continues shortly.
Those were the headlines that trended in the course of the week. Let's quickly take a look at the headlines for today. And the only paper that we'll be reviewing today on the show is the Saturday Punch. On the cover page of the Saturday Punch, above the masthead, Ondo polls, Akeredolu running mate meets Tinubu Sanwo-Olu. That's on page 8. Beside that story on page 12, Fasami instructed us to bury him in same tomb with mom. That statement is credited to the son of the late elder statesman, Ayo Fasami. And we move now to the masthead, just directly beside the masthead. Why we take loans from China? The transport minister is explaining on page 19. On page 7, and that's the boldest headline that we have on the cover page of the Saturday Punch, Senate probes fresh multi-billion naira fraud in NDDC. Panel to grill MD Wednesday over funds unaccounted for. Buhari decries abuse of trust in EFCC, NDDC. And of course, we have the picture of the Senate President and that of the MD of the NDDC. Below that story, my father was stoned, burned to death, son of slain Akwa Ibom village head. That is on page 27. And on page 32, 81 million euro Osimhen deal. How street hawker became Africa's costliest footballer. That's talking about Victor Osimhen, and that story is on page 32. On page 23, 10 killed in Lagos boat accident, 3 missing. That's from the police. And an interesting story here on page 30. Mom secretly took dad's money to support my career. That statement is credited to the Falcons goalkeeper, Nadozie. And the last on the front page of the Saturday Punch says, distancing in Katsina, Bauchi, others. And we quickly go to the back page of the Saturday Punch, where we have sporting stories. And just at the top of the paper, FA Cup Finals, Lampard, Arteta targets first trophy. And the boldest headline which we saw on the front page of the paper earlier, 81 million euro Napoli deal. How Lagos hawker became Africa's costliest footballer. That's talking about Victor Osimhen. And of course, we have in a small box here, top 10 African most expensive footballers, with Osimhen topping the charts. All right, those are the headlines of the newspapers. Well, basically, it's all about the celebration of Salah, but another story that trended in the course of this week was the attack on the convoy of the Borno State Governor, Governor Zulum, Professor Zulum, you know, in his territory there. I think it was around Monguno turn to all the troubled areas of Nigeria. I mean, this is the season to celebrate. This is the season of peace. This is the season of love. So let it transcend all through our lives in Nigeria. Of course, the COVID-19 pandemic is still on, but we just must stick to the rules and preach peace. It's still morning ride. Let's take a quick break now. When we return, you get to meet my very first guest on the show today. Do stay with us.
Latest entrant, latest technology. Welcome to Intel 4G LTE Advanced and experience super fast internet access today. Visit intel.com.ng or any of our stores in Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt to get started. Intel. Live more.
Going out of the house these days, no be am at all. All the work where I get to do, I try do am from inside house. But a few times, like once or twice a week, I got to comot to go the neighborhood store to buy food and other essentials. And when I'm out, I avoid crowded places and try to be at least 2 meters away from people. And me too, if I'm sick, I stay at home. But when I'm out and I feel like I want to cough or sneeze, I do that into my flex powder. Or I cough or sneeze into a tissue that I will dispose of in a bin. If I see person where I know on my close party, I dey hail them from far. You see, my people, it will take heroes to stop the spread of COVID-19.
Be a superhero. Save your friends and family, community and country from coronavirus disease known as COVID-19. You are the superhero that Nigeria is waiting for. Will you answer the call?
Thank you for staying tuned to us. The show is still Morning Ride, and my very first guest is waiting in the wings. Infertility is an issue that has torn apart many homes. It has broken quite a lot of homes. It has torn apart family members, even made them almost near enemies amongst themselves. Well, even in death, there is somebody who is trying to impact the lives of Nigerians, talking about the late Ibidunni Ighodalo. It was her wish that on her 40th birthday, which was on the 19th of July 2020, there's something that's called 40 at 40 initiative, which will be inaugurated. And of course, even in death, it has been inaugurated. To find out what the 40 at 40 is all about and to talk about infertility, the stigma associated with it, let's have joining us via Zoom the Pastor Trinity House in person of Pastor Itwa Ighodalo. Good morning, Pastor Ighodalo.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me this morning. God bless you.
God bless you too.
Okay.
Yes, and once again, do accept our condolences from the NTA.
It's showing. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Infertility, like I said in my introduction, is an issue that has torn apart quite a lot of families. It has broken a lot of homes. And it's usually, people are often stigmatized, especially the women. What's your take on infertility in Nigeria especially?
Well, infertility happens. It's unfortunate, but that's part of the rules of life, and that's how life turns out. First of all, it's not proven that it's mainly women that cause infertility. It's not a fact. What statistics tells us that it's 50-50. Sometimes it's the man that is responsible, low sperm count, bad habits, previous infection, and so on and so forth, also has affected the man. But unfortunately, in Nigeria, this social importance attached to childbearing physically has made it very, very challenging for women and has made it a lot of, stigmatized a lot of women, made marriage and life unbearable for them, and a lot of pressure from relatives, in-laws, friends of the husband, and society at large, thinking that if a woman is infertile, then there's something wrong with her, or she's committed a sin, or God doesn't love her, and so on and so forth. But that's not correct at all. And part of what we're trying to do at the Ibidunni Ighodalo Foundation is to change the public perception of this and to also bring succor and comfort to those who we think have delayed pregnancy or delayed productivity.
All right. You have just, nipped it in the bud there by telling us exactly how it is, especially in these climes in Nigeria. Now, the Ibidunni Ighodalo Foundation is one which is very passionate about helping couples to conceive and have the fruit of the womb. And I know that, the 40 at 40 initiative was launched posthumously for Ibiduni Igodalo on the 19th of July. Can you tell us about this? What is 40 at 40?
40 at 40 started originally by my wife, 40 for 40. For many years, she's been passionate about helping women and children and family, especially in the area of reproductive health. And informally, for the past 8 years, she and myself have been helping people who could help to bring forth their own children through IVF, okay, the in vitro fertilization practice. Those who were not able to were encouraged to adopt, because we also believe very strongly in adoption. And in 2016, she formally launched her foundation, the Biduni Godalo Foundation, to focus on providing IVF treatment and medical assistance for those who required it. We started with 12 families.
Okay.
In 2016. We got a 40% success, and we've been doing that up until now. So my wife was turning 40 in July this year, and I asked her late last year, what would you want for your 40th birthday? And she said, all I want is to be able to assist 40 women with the IVF treatment. And that was how we. And by the time she passed, about 6 weeks ago, everybody who was close to her, she had mentioned to them that this is what I was planning for my 40th. So we've pushed that dream, and we too pray that we will succeed in it.
Definitely it will succeed with the kind of zeal with which you're pushing it. Now, to better understand this, for couples who have challenges, with infertility, IVF is the option that you're taking for 40 couples, right?
Correct.
Okay.
40
Now,
couples want them to have access to IVF treatment. You know, of course, that it is not an inexpensive procedure. The average procedure costs between 2 to 3 million naira, depending on where you are. You may be able to negotiate down to 1.5 million, but that's about the barest minimum that it will cost you. So we're trying to raise 150 million to support the couples, 120 towards the procedure, and the buffer to assist them in the pregnancy. Because you don't know what the pregnancy itself will bring forth, and we want to be there with them all the way.
Wow, that's great. Now, looking at infertility, before we quickly come back to, the 40 at 40, looking at the IVF, the in vitro fertilization, how readily acceptable is it in Nigeria? Are we that receptive towards, this assisted form of fertility?
Of course, it's getting more and more acceptable in Nigeria, and we thank God that there are many, many medical practitioners now that have the skill and the competence to make this possible. So a lot of people are trying it. We're surprised how many people have gone through the process over the few years. Some have done it several times without success, and some have done it once or twice and they've been successful. So it's very, very popular now in Nigeria, and people are beginning to accept it.
All right. I know that there must be a process of selection. How do couples, get to be a part of this? Because I'm sure that there are so many people who will be interested in this initiative.
Yeah, definitely. We insist on a completely transparent process. We have a website, www.ibiduniigodalo.com or www.ibiduniigodalofoundation.org. If you go to that website, and that's what we're encouraging people to do, you would find a form there that you can fill that will ask for your details, medical history, age, and length of marriage, and proof that you have not conceived or you have not had children before. So you fill the form, a few referees here and there, and based on that, we'll begin a weeding process. The criteria is as follows. Number one, you must have been married for at least 5 years, because we believe that 5 years of infertility is enough to prove that.
Okay, it looks like we're having some network challenges there. Linking up with Pastor Itwa Igodalo. He's talking about the 40 at 40 initiative of the late Ibidoni Igodalo. Maybe we should take a quick break now and see if we can return to Pastor Itwa Igodalo so that he actually explains to us the full details of this initiative, 40 at 40. We'll take a quick break now.
Hey, beautiful. Your eyes, your smile are all begging me to take you home tonight.
Now reading page 3.
Experience unlimited super-fast internet access from Intel 4G.
Intel. Live more.
Imagine this. Your friend says to you, "Hey man, look what my big bro sent to me. It appears there's an easy way to stop the virus from entering your body." And then you say, "Oh wow, please forward it to me, let me share." And then you send it to one person who sends it to other people and they share it with other people, all without verifying this information. This misinformation might get more people infected and lives lost. Now, imagine this. Your friend says to you, "Hey man, look what my big bro sent to me. It appears there's an easy way to stop the virus from entering your body." And then you say, "How sure are you this information is legit? Is it from the WHO or the NCDC websites?" Dude, please verify every information about the coronavirus from the NCDC or the WHO websites. Well, you see, you have just stopped the spread of fake info. Remember to tell your big bro, WhatsApp info does not mean correct info. Think about it.
Right, it's still morning, right? And well, we will be linking up later with Pastor Itwa Igodalo, who will shed more light on what we have, talking about the Ibidoni Igodalo Foundation's 40 at 40 initiative. But while we're trying to hook up back to Pastor Itwa Igodalo, let's take a look at our health, talking about the physicians who will be talking to us today. That's the two doctors, Martina Agberi and Maimuna Kadiri. Let's find out what they have for us today on the physicians. Okay, do I have Pastor Itwa Igodalo back? Okay, if I don't have Pastor Itwa Igodalo back, let's do, take the physicians, and we will be back. All right, I'm told that Pastor Itwa Igodalo is back on air, joining us via Zoom. Pastor Itwa, you were talking about, the selection process before we lost you there. Can you quickly, tell us about that?
Yeah, I do apologize about that technological challenge. Yes, the selection process, I did say that the lady must be below the age of 50 for medical reasons and to avoid complications of that age can bring to the reproductive process.
Yes.
And then thereafter, once we get the
Okay. All right. We're still having issues linking up with Pastor Itwa Igodalo there. It is indeed an initiative that must be supported, talking about the 40 at 40 initiative of the Ibidoni Igodalo Foundation. Let's take the physicians now, and when we return, there's still more to come on Morning Ride.
This is your regular program, The Physicians, and we always promise you the very best. On today's program, we are out of the station linking up with one of our doctors in the diaspora who is a world-renowned expert in this field of menopause that we are going to talk about. His name is Dr. Alexander Edosa Iva Obo. He's a consultant, obstetric and gynecologist, Hull University Teaching Hospital, United Kingdom.
Hi, my name is Dr. Alexander Edosa Obo. I'm a consultant obstetrician and gynecologist. I currently work at the Hull University Teaching Hospitals in the United Kingdom. Menopause, it's essentially women coming to a point in their lives where their ovarian function ceases, and the big thing people see about it is that you stop having a menstrual period. But that's not what it's all about. It's a period in your life where your ovarian function gradually drops, and you have various symptoms that come through that. But we know, by definition, we say a woman is now menopausal 12 months after they had a last period.
Are there likelihood that after 12 months a woman can see her period again?
Yes, you could have the odd menstrual bleed after you've had a 12-month break. But if you do have that, it's something you need to see your doctors for, because it's something we know as postmenopausal bleeding, which for most women it means absolutely nothing. It's just a benign cause. But for a small proportion of women, it could be an indication of abnormal cells growing in line with your womb that needs further assessment.
What are the symptoms of menopause?
The symptoms of menopause are varied, and women get it in different ways. The most common symptoms you get are the vasomotor symptoms, where you have the hot flushes and the sweats. Hot flushes is where you have this sudden build-up of this heat around your chest, and sometimes it goes right up to your head and all over your body. Those are the most common ones you get. Then you have the other symptoms such as low moods. You have the vaginal dryness, and you have the loss of libido, and you have the musculoskeletal effect, where you have these pains in your joints and pains in your muscles. But for most people, it's the vasomotor symptoms they're more concerned about.
Why do we have these symptoms?
I guess you have the symptoms because in the central part of your brain, you have the thermoregulatory centers, where we know they're sensitive to estrogens. As your and that center has to regulate itself and change itself, and that's why you have this sudden buildup of heat in your system. But generally, we don't know all of it, but that's what we think is going on for women.
Do we have any long-term challenge?
Yes, we do, and it's something I think is very important that women are aware of. Menopause, everybody agrees, is a lifestyle, quality of life issue, but the long-term effect is something quite serious. So we know that if your estrogen levels drop, you tend to have your bone thins much more as compared to if you have a normal level of estrogen, something called osteoporosis. Estrogen is the normal female hormone that is produced by your ovaries. So in simple terms, for every young woman, you have a part of your brain called the pituitary gland that stimulates, sends some hormones like signals, and that goes to your ovaries. They stimulate your ovaries to produce estrogen and another hormone called progesterone. And so every month you have the estrogen, progesterone produced in a cyclical way, and if you don't get pregnant in another month, you have a period. That's what causes your menstrual period. When the levels drop, you have a menstrual period. Over time, your ovarian egg store drops. So despite the stimulation from your brain, the ovary is not able to respond and provide estrogens. So your estrogen levels drop. And it comes to a point where it ceases totally, and that's where you start having the menopausal symptoms.
So what are the possible long-term effects?
With lack of estrogen for a long time, it does have a significant impact on a woman's quality of life. If you could imagine that for most women, if you turn menopause at 50 or 51, and the life expectancy in Nigerian women is far longer than a Nigerian man, and you'll be living way into your 60s and 70s. So for the next 20 years, or a third of your life, you'll be living without estrogen and going through the menopausal symptoms. With lack of estrogen, you have an impact on your bone function, so your bones become thinner, because your bone requires estrogen as part of the hormones that stimulate calcium deposition. And there have been loads of studies showing, comparing women without estrogen and women who have given HRT or hormone replacement therapy that provide estrogen for them, and look at their bone density. And it's much better with women and estrogen. It's important about bone density because the big risk you have is about fractures. So the older you get, you have other issues in your life, you're more prone to falling down, and if you fall, you can fracture your wrist, which is very common, but the most worrying one is about fracturing your hips. Because if you fracture your hip bone, your mortality is much higher. By mortality, I mean the chance of you having complications and dying from that is much higher. And if you survive it with a fractured hip, especially in our environment in Nigeria, your quality of life drops some more. The other effect you worry about is the potential effect on your cardiovascular function. So people, if you think about it, that in premenopausal women, the risk of them having stroke is much lower than in men. But when you become menopausal, your chance of getting stroke almost equals that of a man. And we now know that with estrogen deficiency, that's one of the push factors. But estrogen does provide you some protection against your vessels. And women on HRT, especially estrogen-based HRT, there's quality evidence now to suggest that they do have a lesser risk of developing stroke as compared to women without HRT. However, there's going to be a caveat to that. We know if you're on estrogen, progesterone, HRT, your risk may not be increased at all, or it may not be improved. It may be the same risk as if you didn't have HRT. That is, women on estrogen and progesterone-based HRT as compared to the estrogen-only HRT.
Now you see why we said at the beginning of the program that it is a natural process. Menopause is natural. You heard the symptoms, you heard the signs from the expert, Dr. Edosa Eva Obo, the consultant gynecologist in the diaspora. I'm sure you all had, I don't want to use the word fun, because to the women it's not fun, but it's something that is actually very alleviating, knowing that there is always a solution. Don't go away. We'll be back after this time out.
I think the key thing is about you seeing your physicians first, especially seeing a physician that understands menopause. So if you are at increasing risk of having a cardiovascular risk, it's important you see somebody so they can go through all of that with you. So if you take estrogen-only HRT, the evidence suggests that the risk of having a cardiovascular event like a stroke is reduced in long-term use. But if you take estrogen and progesterone HRT, it doesn't change that for you. So if you've had a hysterectomy, so if you had your womb taken away, you only need the estrogen-based HRT, so that works well. But if you still have your womb in place, you would definitely need the estrogen and progesterone-based HRT. Because without the progesterone component of HRT, you run the risk of the estrogen stimulating line of your womb, which increases your risk of developing endometrial cancer, and you really don't want that. And it's something that can easily be resolved by you speaking to your physician or a family practice doctor who understands the menopause.
Managing menopausal women, which is the best option?
A hysterectomy is not relevant in terms of managing a woman with the menopausal symptoms. The key thing for me or for the patient is to say, which of the menopausal symptoms are you more concerned about, which is predominant here? So for most people, it's the vasomotor symptoms, the hot flushes and the sweats, the low mood, the irritability. And that you can manage using simple tablets that contain estrogen and progesterone. And for women who find the tablets difficult to use, there are other options now. You can have the estrogen patches, you can have the estrogen gels, which you just rub on your skin. The key thing is having a preparation that contains estrogen and progesterone if you have a womb. If you don't have a womb in place, then the estrogen only would work. The alternatives people talk about, which most people have read about, is alternative medicine. You talk about St. John's wort, the black cohosh. Do they work? There is some evidence emerging that some of them do work. The problem we have is it's to know what type to use, because there are different brands, different variations, the dose strengths differ, and we don't know for sure what the long-term effect is. But we do know with estrogen and progesterone, because there have been loads of studies over the last 10, 20 years, we know the long-term effect. Having a hysterectomy done, it's important if there's a good clinical indication for it. The most common reasons why women in this part of the world will have a hysterectomy done would be things like having heavy menstrual periods from large uterine fibroids or fibroids causing pressure effect. If you need to do it, I would strongly recommend you go have a hysterectomy done if there's an indication for it. But I don't think you should be going to have a hysterectomy because you want to have treatment for the menopause. It's, say you have heavy periods, you got 10 centimeter, 20 centimeter fibroids, your family size is complete, and you've tried other treatment options, they haven't worked for you, hysterectomy, quite rightly, could be your next option for you. For some other patients, they have problems with the cervix, we have abnormal cells, pre-cancer, and cancer of the cervix. In the early stages of cancer of the cervix, a hysterectomy is the only option you have. For some other people, it's ovarian pathologies, where having the ovaries taken out and the hysterectomy is a good option. The other group of women is some women where you're over 45, you're going to have a hysterectomy anyway for some reason like fibroids I mentioned earlier. We would sometimes recommend to have your ovaries taken out at the same time because that helps reduce your long-term risk in the future of developing ovarian cancer. For those women, we would have created something called a surgical menopause for them. So we've essentially, at the point you wake up in theater, made you menopausal. In that group of women, we would strongly recommend they have some estrogen-based HRT to provide and deal with their vasomotor syndrome, which is going to hit them once in the next few weeks after their surgery.
Any word for our viewers out there? Advice?
This program is one of it. Having the physicians having to listen to a program like this and me making time to come and talk about it. Because as it go, we need to talk about menopause in Nigeria. It's something in the past we never talked about. I went to medical school in Nigeria and I cannot recall having to sit in a menopause clinic. Okay, I practiced medicine in Nigeria before going to the United Kingdom. I never saw patients with menopausal symptoms. So I think it's important we start talking about it. That's a start. So having people like yourself running a program like this and being open to talk about menopause is important. The other key thing is, especially for people with access to the internet, the world is a global world now with information out there. On a Google search, if you keep in word menopause and press the go button, there'll be loads of information for you to read about. So we've got no excuses now. It's all out there. But the most important thing, in my opinion, is having a discussion with your physician. And hopefully, if he or she is knowledgeable about the menopause, you will have some form of direction in understanding all the information you've gathered yourself online and having a discussion with physicians. And hopefully you come to the right decision for yourself.
So, Dr. Memuna, once again, we've come to the end of our regular program, which is beneficial to everybody around the world. Your physicians, of course, where your health is our business. I remain Dr. Memuna Kadri.
And I remain Dr. Martina Agbere.
Till next time, stay blessed.
All right, that was Dr. Martina Agbere and Dr. Memuna Kadri talking, well, with their guests there on menopause, something that's really worrisome to not just Nigerian women, but women all over the world, because sometimes people feel that menopause is more or less like a near-death sentence, but we've been properly educated today on the physicians. Let's take a quick break. When we return, our guests are standing by.
What does it take to get ahead in today's world? To get your dream job, the perfect girl, even a table at your favorite dance club. It takes moving fast. It takes moving at the speed of 4G. With Intel 4G LTE, you've got it all covered. That's because you have access to super fast unlimited data that enables you move as fast as the speed of light. Now, no download is too heavy. No conversation too long. Nothing is impossible. Get Intel 4G LTE Advanced today and do so much more. Intel. Live more.
My name is Fatima Yusuf, a polio vaccinator working in Lagos. The challenge we face is mainly misunderstanding. Some say because the children receive routine immunization at health center, they don't need the one we give at home. Some won't go to the health center to receive routine immunization because they receive the polio vaccine at home. But both are important. Look at the dirty environment, bad sewage disposal, people defecating openly, contaminated water. Everything needed to spread polio is all around all of us. Polio can lead to paralysis and even death. You can't even say prevention is better than cure. Because for polio, there is no cure, only prevention.
I'm here to tell you that polio is like the rain that doesn't befriend anybody. The only cover against polio is for every child under the age of 5 to receive the polio vaccine. Your child is at risk because polio no dey look face. Polio doesn't discriminate.
Protect your child. Get them immunized in the hospital and at home.
That was, you know, us paying some bills there. And from what I'm told, I hear Pastor Itwa Igodalo is waiting to join us for us to quickly conclude our discussions with him. Pastor Itwa, are you there?
I'm here.
All right, so you were talking about the recommendations, you know, people that are qualified for this intervention. We have to take this quickly, please.
Yes, I was saying that you need to be below 50 years if you are the female and prove that you can't afford the treatment. And then we will do medical tests, ensure that you are physically fit, and we will then give you the assistance to, we have 3 hospitals, and 2 hospitals has also volunteered to join us. We'll send those hospitals and we will pay the price. We expect you also to pay a little token so that you have a skin in the game and you don't just think, and to assess your seriousness. It's not that we need the money, but we just feel that it is good process for the spouse to pay a little token to be part of the process. And that's all.
Exactly.
That's about it.
Exactly.
And they pay to the hospital, not to us.
All right. Now, you said that you have 3 hospitals, and I think 1 or 2 hospitals have also joined. You know, they've shown a willingness. I'm wondering now, because people will cut, the prospective patients will cut across the length and breadth of Nigeria. What happens when the hospitals are not in their, you know, home state, in their location?
Well, we're comfortable with the 3 or 4 hospitals that we have in Lagos. We're familiar with them. We're familiar with their skills and their processes. We would rather the people come to Lagos to do the procedure. They can then go back to their home state, wherever it is, and have a clinic there, manage the pregnancy.
Okay.
But we'd rather have the procedure done in Lagos. That's where we're comfortable right now. We did try to use a hospital in Abuja several years ago. It wasn't very, very successful because we couldn't monitor them and so on and so forth.
Okay.
And whilst the foundation grows, then we will be able to have hospitals in different parts of Lagos or even Africa, because we're Africa-centric, we're Africa-based. We're hoping that we can spread this across Africa and probably all over the world over time as God blesses us. But we'll take it step by step. We're comfortable with the hospitals in Lagos. Please come and do your procedure in Lagos. Then you can go back to your home state and have your hospital there manage you. And we'll be monitoring the pregnancy, and hopefully by the time you give birth, we'll be thanking God with you.
All right. Now, is there a time limit to when couples can participate in this, can, you know, show their intention? Is there a time limit for it? Because we're looking at 40.
This special 40 at 40, we opened on the 19th, which was my wife's birthday.
Yes.
We're closing on the 5th of August, which is sometime this coming week.
Yes.
Incidentally, my parents' wedding anniversary. It's just a coincidence. I think that is sufficient time for anybody who is serious to try and register. We close on that day, and then we begin the sorting from that night into the next morning. And then by the third day, by the 6th or the 7th, the ones who have been successful, they'll begin to hear, and we'll do a Zoom interview with them just to verify a few things, and then send them over to our clinic, our doctor, for the initial assessment. Because you may have passed our cutoff, but by the time we assess you medically, there might be other issues that we may find. And you may need to treat those issues first before you can go on to IVF. So we want to make sure that you are okay before we put you on the IVF. Some people may have high blood pressure, they may have obesity, they may have fibroids and all manners of things that affect pregnancy and conception. So we need to fix that first. If that is fixed, then you go on to the IVF. But we're not going to wait. It's going to take some time to fix that. We'll let you go and fix that problem. But we just want to be able to kick off with 40 couples right now who are medically able to go onto the program.
All right, Pastor Itwa Igodalo, we wish you the very best of luck. And on behalf of the Ibidunni Igodalo Foundation, we're calling on all well-meaning Nigerians to please support this initiative. It is important, you know, that we impact the lives of those around us in whichever way. Well done, Pastor Itwa. Well done for keeping the memory of your wife alive. And thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. And anybody wants further information, please go to the website, www.ibidunnigodalofoundation.org. You'll get all the information you want there. And if you want to donate and be part of the foundation, please go there also. And our bank is at GT Bank. God bless you all. Thank you very much.
God bless you too, Pastor Itwa Igodalo. We have been speaking about infertility and the initiative from the Ibidunni Igodalo Foundation, where 40 couples will be assisted in terms of fertility to have their own fruit of the womb. The program is still a morning ride, and we still have some guests lined up for you today. Let's take this very quick break. When we come back, you get to meet my next guest when we'll be talking about Salah in the COVID era.
Dear Diary, it's been many weeks. There is no school. I'm very bored. Dear Diary, I'm so bored. There's no Pakupu, no Friday prayer with Dad. Mommy says everybody has to stay at home because of this coronavirus disease called COVID-19 that is making lots of people sick all over the world. COVID-19 attacks the lungs and makes it difficult to breathe. And with a fever, feeling more tired and often coughing. And there's no cure. So stay at home. Tell mommy and daddy too. They must stay home so they don't bring back this coronavirus with them. If we all stay at home for now and make this sacrifice, after some time, we can return to school again. We can attend parties again. We can play in the park again. But for that to happen, we must all play our part.
Help keep yourselves and those around you safe from the coronavirus disease. Wash your hands with soap. Cover your coughs and sneezes with a tissue or with a bent elbow, and maintain physical distance. When you stay home, you help keep everyone safe. The future of your family, community, and country is in your hands. Play your part.
Experience unlimited super-fast internet access from Intel 4G.
Intel. Live more.
All right, it's still morning ride, and we hope you're having a jolly good ride with us. Before we take my next guest on the program today, let's take a quick trip into the world of sports. So much has happened with the EPL. Victor